On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. One-of-a-kind opinions, big-name guests, the teams you care about every day. It's the Ron Johnson Show, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Ron Johnson Show, and I am your host, Ron Johnson. On today's show, I'm wearing my maroon and gold, of course. Ben Johnson, Gophers head coach for basketball, is joining us. He just signed a big-time recruit, probably the biggest recruit in Gopher basketball history, aside from one other guy. We're going to talk NFL draft, Vikings, of course, later in the Daily 3. But first, we got to talk about what's the most important thing of today. No, it's not your taxes. You should have had those done already. As I bring Sam Ekstrom, my producer, Sam, it's game day. Like, I cannot remember the last time I've been, paying attention and excited for game day of basketball. Yes, we know there's baseball going on. Everybody's excited about Byron Buxton. Yes, the NFL draft is Thursday. Everybody's excited about Derek Stingley Jr. But today, the Minnesota Timberwolves play the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis. Now, I did wake up today a little bit nervous. This is why. Last time my daughter had softball practice, the Timberwolves, I asked the coach, he had the game on, right in front of the net as he's pitching. He's looking down at the game, and he's like, oh, yeah, the Timberwolves are up 16. And I'm like, what? I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, how? How are they up 16? So we go through the rest of practice, and I'm thinking oh, this is a cakewalk. The Timberwolves are going to run away with this thing. It's going to be 2-1. Timberwolves are going to be up. Get home, and all hell had broke loose. So I had recorded it. So as I rewound it back and realized, wow, that's the only thing I could do, Sam. And they end up losing. So I woke up a little nervous, Sam, because I remember the last time she had softball practice that happened. But I'm going to pray that doesn't happen. We have practice tonight. Same deal. I'm going to record the game. I know a coach is going to have it on the TV in the practice, or on his phone. He's going to stream it on his phone. But yeah, I'm nervous, Sam. What about you? How do you feel about today's game?
I wasn't nervous until I saw a stat that our boss, David Locke, tweeted out. Now, he does the Jazz games. So The Jazz were in the exact same situation.
They can't stop Luka.
Yeah, they can't stop Luka. They're in some trouble, but they were 2-2, just like the Wolves are. They went on the road to Dallas. Dallas was the home favorite. And David Locke, before the game, he tweeted out something like, home favorites in Game 5 when the series is 2-2 or when they've lost in Game 4. It was 41-10, home favorites in Game 5 off a loss. And then what happened?
There's a chance.
I'm saying that there are 10 teams that have done it. Dallas went out and won by 25, so the Jazz didn't break that trend. Maybe the Wolves can. I think they're 6-point underdogs on betonline.net. But this is going to be a tough test. I mean, Memphis is not going to roll over. Honestly, I'm a little nervous about Ja, because Ja has not played well in this series. He was pretty ineffective in Minneapolis. If he starts attacking again and getting to the line and racking up those foul counts, that could be the catalyst to kind of put Memphis back over the top.
Yeah, and for the novice out there, you said the Memphis Grizzlies on betonline.com are getting 6?
6-point favorites.
6-point favorites. So that means if the Timberwolves lose by 5, the Timberwolves cover, correct?
Right.
Okay. So in my opinion, I would bet on the Timberwolves to cover. That's just my opinion. They have not really gotten handled, I'd say, against this Grizzlies team. Now, we do know that game 2, but that was just I'm going to go on a limb. I don't think that's going to happen again. I pray that they don't just let it all go and it goes to hell, because 124-96, I don't see that really happening. I see the 104-95 Grizzlies. I see the 119-118. I see the 130-117 Timberwolves. I think, and it's just me, I think the Timberwolves at least have it figured out with the timeouts. Now, that's on Chris Finch. Does he have the ability and the know-how and the wits about himself to do it? Also, are the refs going to be a little less likely to help out the Grizzlies because of their coach? His comments about them, he got fined. He said, I don't care. You can fine me, do whatever you want to do. Like, if I'm a referee, I have Twitter too. I have the internet. I have friends and family that have the internet and Twitter, and they know I ref that game. And they're probably texting me like, yo, what's going on, man? Why is he on y'all like that? Did y'all really do that? Did y'all bet on the game? Are y'all trying to, keep this, is the NBA rigged, as everybody likes to say? Are you guys really trying to push this to Game 7? Maybe when they get out there, those ticky-tacky Ja Morant drive to the lane bumps don't get called. Now, we know coaches do make those comments for refs to kind of be put on the spotlight. So now it's, glaring and people are watching. And when one's not called, that fan base is going to boo the heck out of them and they're going to yell and scream. Somebody might throw something on the court if it gets really bad where Ja goes to the lane. Karl-Anthony Towns jumps straight up, which he's allowed to, verticality, as they call it, and he doesn't get the foul. Are the fans going to lose it because they're going to say one or the other? Vice versa, if he does get the call and it's not a foul, Timberwolves fans are going to take to Twitter, I know I am, and say the refs have been swayed. The refs have been swayed by a coach whose feelings were hurt and really just wanted to lay it on the line and say, you guys screwed my team. My team didn't lose. You lost it for my team. And so for me, the question I'm going to ask, what player needs to step up? For me tonight, it's Karl-Anthony Towns. Ben Johnson, we're going to talk to Ben Johnson later. We're going to ask him his take on that as well. But I'm going to say Karl-Anthony Towns. Why? Because I think Ant Edwards, scoring 24 last time, I think Ant Edwards is fine. I think Edwards is going to do his thing. And when you look at – sorry, not 24. It is 24. When you look at Ant Edwards 24, Karl-Anthony Towns is what I meant, 33. So Ant Edwards 24, Karl-Anthony Towns 33. I think you got to get the same production. That's the guy. Karl-Anthony Towns has to step up for me. He has to stay out of foul trouble. He has to. Sam, who do you think?
So I don't know the answer to this question. This means I should be paying more attention when I watch the games, but whoever's guarding Desmond Bane needs to show up on that end of the floor because Desmond Bane has been the Grizzlies' best player in this series. It hasn't been Morant.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a credit to Patrick Beverley because Beverley has been guarding Morant most of the time. And Beverley has been a menace. He's been a pest defensively. He's great on ball. Wolves have been bringing the double team on Morant, forcing him to give it up. That's great. But the guy he's given it up to, Desmond Bane, is hitting everything in sight. So who's going to be closing out on Desmond Bane? Who's going to prevent those three-point shots? 8 of 12 in the last game for Bane. So I need someone to show up on the defensive end tonight. I think that's where the Wolves win the game. I think they will get enough offense from their stars. I think that Edwards will give them 25. I think that Cat is locked in. Like, I'm not worried as much about that end of the floor. I'm worried about the defensive end of the floor because there have been periods in this series where the defense kind of just has they kind of black out for about 10 minutes and they let the Grizzlies do whatever they want. Can't happen tonight. Got to defend for 48 minutes.
Yeah, it's a weird defense. They kind of run some, not weird. It's kind of a matchup because you look at Ant Edwards. I think he's one of the most athletic guys I've seen where he can guard just about everybody on the court besides a center. Like he's strong enough and jumps and physical enough to deal with some of the forwards, but then he also is quick enough because we've seen him guard Ja Morant. And so my thought is when you look at the way the Grizzlies play, it's a ball screen at the top with Ja Morant. They want to get him on somebody going downhill, letting him use his athleticism. And so it's the closeout on Desmond Bane. I think that's what you're looking for. It's the closeout because it's not you're not like locking Desmond Bane down where he's getting the ball and then he's just going to kill you. It's that kick out. It's the secondary pass because you've either had to sink a little bit to help on the pick and pop from Ja Morant or the pick and drive from Ja Morant, and then he's kicking it out, and then it's the closeout. But I know it's between D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, and Patrick Beverley. They kind of all rotate with what they see with that matchup, where if Ja Morant's really just driving, they want a more physical guy that can push with them, run with them, and jump and block his shot is Anthony Edwards. If it's kind of slowed down a little bit, you'll see D'Angelo Russell at the top on him. Edwards is over on Bane. And then vice versa, Pat Beverly's on Ja Morant because he's just being an absolute pest. Sometimes he actually goes to Bane, Pat Beverly, because he is strong enough and doesn't mind the physical game that we know Bane can give you sometimes if he wants to bang down low. He has the weirdest shot, too. I don't understand. Like, he's the only guy I know who shoots like that can actually get the shot off and makes it. But yeah, no, I think that's the one. The stat for me to watch too tonight, it's going to be Karl-Anthony Towns fouls. Like how many fouls versus minutes and versus points. Like I think that's going to be the deciding factor too for the Timberwolves. If Karl-Anthony Towns can stay out of foul trouble, and there's the one thing that I agree with the broadcast team. I think it must have been Reggie Miller. I don't know who made this call, but it was when I think it was Beasley. I can't remember who, but there was a foul called. And it was between him and I think Williams or Vanderbilt or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was McDaniels. It was either McDaniels. I think it was McDaniels and Beasley. So McDaniels had the fouls. Beasley, the foul was called on Beasley. It was the weird one where they kind of grabbed hands and smacked dude in the face. I think it was John Morant got hit in the face or something like that. It was a weird one where they called it on Beasley. And it wasn't on Beasley. It was on McDaniels running through and smacked him in the face with his hand. Beasley's like arguing, like, I never touched him. I don't know why y'all called the foul on me. Well, he talked long enough that the refs end up realizing it and putting the foul on a guy that already had 3 fouls. Like, that's the kind of things when you only have 1 foul or no fouls, you just raise your hand and you take that foul. You see Pat Beverly do it all the time. He takes the foul. He's like, yep, it's on me. It's not on Cat. Give it to me. Don't give it to Cat. That's where guys have to be a little bit more savvy, pay attention to the situation, stop arguing about who's the call on. Just know, like, dude has 3, I have 1. I'll take that one. It's on me. He argued and argued and argued, and they end up putting it on the other guy and gave him 4 fouls. And so stuff like that. If Cat's and you are in a situation and you're close, take the foul for Cat. Just put your hands up and lobby. Give it to me. Don't give it to Cat. We need to keep Cat out of foul trouble. That's what happened to John Morant. He was on the bench, only gave him 11 points. I think if he's on there, the fact that they lost by 1 and technically by 4 off after a last-second shot, probably a lot closer, and the Grizzlies probably win because of the way John Morant can drive to the lane. He was not able to do that in foul trouble, and then after, when you go to the bench and you come back, you're cold, and it just doesn't work out. So that's my stat to watch for the game. Up next, we're going to have Gophers head coach Ben Johnson. Stick around for that. And now on the Ron Johnson Show, as promised, we have head coach Ben Johnson. Now, this is a guy that I actually was in school with. So baggy shorts, baggy jerseys, T-shirt under the jerseys. So much has changed in college basketball. But Ben, I want to thank you for joining the Ron Johnson Show. And I'm going to just start off quick, man. Like, you grew up in the state of Minnesota. This is the state of hockey. But now this has become a basketball town in ebbs and flows. Like it comes and goes. And back when KG was here, it definitely was a basketball town. They had playoff runs. They tried to get it back with Jimmy Butler. Didn't really work as well. Became a catastrophic experiment. But now back in the playoffs, tied 2-2 against the Memphis Grizzlies, heading into Game 5 tonight. What do the Timberwolves have to do, Ben? You're a player and a coach, to close this game out tonight.
I think the biggest thing is not lose what they did, last game. I thought Cat was phenomenal with just his energy, playing with that emotion the right way. I thought they did a really good job moving the ball, got everybody, multiple players involved offensively. I think Ant-Man, what he can do on both sides of the ball and what D'Lo can do, especially offensively, leading this charge along with Cat. They come with their mind right. It should be a fun game.
Yeah, and when you think about this series as a whole, and you look at, like you said, Cat having a great game, Anthony Edwards, when you look at these two stars, so for your younger guys, your high school kids, do these guys have the same impact that KG had on you?
I think probably Ant-Man does for sure. He's got like that star power. I think if you remember, when KG got drafted out of high school, he just had like a presence about him. He had just like star power, star quality, and nothing to take away from Cat. Obviously, an all-star and a very good player, but you look at Ant-Man, just his charisma, how he is in interviews off the floor. He's engaging. He kind of connects people. He's got like that youthful innocence right now and just the unreal talent. What he can do athletically at the rim, very few in this league can do it. And so I think because of that, he just got like that star power that KG had, and that kind of unique talent that you just don't see that too often.
Yeah, man. Let's switch gears. Looking at college basketball now, your sport, your baby now. You guys had one of the biggest transfer signings in Gopher basketball history, as far as transfers go, of course. I think one of the last big recruits of this magnitude would have been Chris Humphreys, I think is what they're saying. I go back to, I'm definitely was a fan of Vashawn Leonard. He's from Detroit. But looking at Dawson Garcia, how big of a signing was that? One, he's coming home, but two, getting other D1 Minnesota, Howard Pulley, all these other kids that see a kid like Dawson come home and most likely, in my opinion, going to have success. What does that do for the program going forward?
I think it's huge. I think, anytime you can get, a national name, and I think Dawson's a national name for a lot of reasons. Out of high school, he was a consensus, top 50 player. And you play at Marquette and you play at North Carolina, which are two really good distinguished programs. That helps in recruiting in terms of good players want to play with good players, and they want to have confidence to know that when they go to a team or a situation, they're not going to be the only ones. And I think talent-wise, he's going to bring a lot to the table. Recognition, he's going to bring a lot to the table. And, he's excited. And I think that's the cool part about it is he's genuinely, super pumped to be back home and to kind of, I was joking with him, kind of right or wrong, and so we're excited to have him. And he's going to go along with, we got to cut, some other good local guys with the players that we signed that I think are vastly underrated. To get Mr. Basketball out of Minnesota and Braden Carrington, to get a Josh Ola Joseph, who's a Big Ten athlete, to get a Pharrell Payne, who, I think, he's not Chris Webber, but he reminds me of Chris Webber, just the way he's physically built as a true freshman and his measurements and athleticism. And I think sky's the limit for that kid. And then you have, a Parker Fox on our team, who's a D2 All-American, who's from here. You got Jameis Battle, who's from here, who, if guys leave the Big Ten like I think they would, he'll be the Big Ten leading scorer next year. And so I think it just shows that, you're trying to grow it with the right type of talent. It happened to be a band of in-state guys right now, but, we want to use that momentum to not only get in-state kids, but recruit nationally at a high level.
Yeah, and I've seen Dawson Garcia play in high school. I've actually seen him since he was in the 5th grade, I think, at Prior Lake, because he played against Drake Dobbs, who's now at St. Thomas, who went to Eden Prairie. And Eden Prairie and Prior Lake had tons of battles. Dawson, in my opinion, is one of the most dominant players I've seen play the game. I think he was underutilized in high school just because he is a team first guy. He is a nice kid. I noticed that in AAU right away, playing with Kendall Brown and Courtney Brown and Drake Dobbs. Dawson's a team player. Do you see yourself, you just named all those guys from Minnesota, ever trying an all Minnesota lineup at one time just to play around with it? One, for the fans, because we know about the Fab Five and I loved it, but seeing what kind of chemistry an all Minnesota lineup could get you.
Yeah, I think, we're going to do whatever we got to do to put the best team on the floor. And, if it happens to be all Minnesota guys, it's all Minnesota guys. If we sprinkle in a player from out of state, we sprinkle in a player from out of state. I think, it's our job as a coaching staff to assemble the best team we possibly can that fits what we're trying to do. And thankfully, we do have a lot of really good local talent. We have really good high school coaches. We have really good AAU programs. The kids here develop, they grow up understanding how to play. And now it's our job to have a product so that when kids are younger, they view us as kind of a destination spot. And they view us as kind of kids did when I grew up. To your sake, I watched Vashawn Leonard. I watched Townsend Orr, Willie Burton, Richard Coffey, Kevin Lynch, all those guys. And so, we want to get it to a point where people here and nationally look at Minnesota as a destination in a top half Big Ten type program. And again, if you can keep the in-state talent at home, that's always the easiest as far as just how to get players to come to your place and recruit. It's a lot easier to get them when they're 20 minutes away than have to fly or hop on a plane. But at the same time, there's a ton of talent, across the country. And, we're going to do what we can to attract the best that we can.
No, for sure. And I know Dawson Garcia can play the one if he has to bring it up the court. I know he can play the two. Parker Fox, you got Jamison Battle. So when you go with that all Minnesota lineup, just for even if it's against like North Dakota or somebody like that, make sure you tweet me the starting tip off because I called it. I think those guys can put 30 up on somebody quick, get some energy in the building. But, we'll move on from that. Ben, looking at what you've done with this program. I was blessed enough, the Gophers football program this weekend and softball hosted myself, and my family was in town. My daughter, she was able to check out the facility, being only 11, but she was able to check out the facility, see football, see basketball. They got to go on the basketball court. You guys have done some amazing things. I went to school here. You went to school here, so you know how amazing it is. But explain the why. Like we saw that, I'm not going to say where it's at, but we saw it, the whys, the players' handwritten whys. Why is that so important?
Well, I appreciate that. I think when in times of doubt, and we talk about dealing with adversity all the time because it's going to come every single day and it's going to come every single game. You got to rely on, who you are as a person. You got to rely on, core values, but to push through, sometimes you need a little bit of that extra motivation, or the days you don't feel like working out, you just need that reminder of why you're doing it. Because as you know, to be good and successful at any level in sports, you've got to be able to do it on days you don't got it. And you got to find an inner resolve to push through. It's easy when it's easy. And if you want to be great and you want to do things that we want to do, every day, you can't lose an opportunity to get better. And so I just put it on the door leading out to the gym because I just wanted guys when they are struggling or when they feel a little bit sore, a little bit tired, or there is adversity, or they have a little doubt in their mind of here's why you're doing it. And maybe that quick reminder, that quick hit can get them that motivation or that juice or that energy to kind of block out the negativity and to push forward and continue to get better. Because at the end of the day, I want them to have goals too. And I want their goals to be meaningful to them and something special to them. And it's just a quick reminder that I think sometimes we all need, to get us going.
Yeah, and so to have a fun one, to end this show or interview, let's have a fun one. So the state of Minnesota or city, the worst cities for dating. There was a poll. I don't know who did this. It says Fox, so who knows what city Fox this was in. But the poll must be out there. It started in Las Vegas, which clearly it was a bunch of drunk people they interviewed. But the worst cities to date, Kansas City, Missouri was 1. Wichita, Kansas was 2. Minneapolis was 3, which is questionable for me. Detroit, Michigan, again, connected to me, was 4. And then Louisville, Kentucky was 5. In your opinion, I know you're a guy, you come in, you have a nice job, you look good, you got that Chico DeBarge thing working for you. Your guy Joe Coleman, who's coming on the show later at some point this year, he was on The Bachelor. Michelle Young, a bachelorette, is from here. She shot the show here. Do you agree with that? Like, is Minneapolis a tough place to date? I mean, you're a guy here now, but I'm pretty sure your DMs are filling up fast.
Man, I would say Joe Coleman's probably got it figured out. Joe Coleman did a great job. He's on national TV. He's got it figured out. I think that poll is interesting. We get a lot of bad raps for a lot of things. I don't necessarily know if we'll be top 5 in that. I don't know who they polled, but the positive thing is I know my staff and players in our program and people in our program, they love the people of Minnesota, and I think they've all done a good job, kind of navigating that landscape. And it's funny, players that I played with and coached. I'm sure same with you. They come here single, but a lot of them end up marrying people that they met at the U or people that they met, downtown or in Uptown or in St. Paul. And so I kind of, you say that and I laugh because so many, and then from the outstate, they end up living here. And we saw that a lot in recruiting, that I don't care if you're from, a Detroit or a North Carolina or California or Texas, somewhere that's out of region. People come here, and because the people are who they are and the area is easy to live in, they end up meeting people, getting married, having families, and staying here. And so I don't know. I probably have to disagree with that, Paul.
I definitely disagree with it. I mean, I look at you, you're dead on. All my college teammates, Tony Patterson, Jared Ellerson, Asin Osai, Mike Lehan, Yuki Dozier, John Richmond. None of us were from here. I mean, that's Ohio, St. Louis, Florida, Illinois, North Carolina. Everybody that I know, that group at least, end up staying here. You look at Damian Johnson. You look at a lot of these guys who play basketball here even that decided to stay. That are not from here, that found their spouse here. So, yeah, I disagree with it. But honestly, this is what I think, because I've heard Randy Moss say this. I've heard Charles Woodson say this. I've heard a lot of players say this. Minnesota is an untapped, secret, hidden gem. For men, it's a lot of young ladies here. I think there are some men here that are screwing it up for the rest of the good guys out there. And there's like a small group of men out there that are just idiots. And I think that's where, because if it started in Vegas, you know they're polling women on the street. Like they're asking girls on the street who are walking up and down the strip, who are drinking, cocktail in hand. And yeah, it's definitely some past, like the 2002 to 2009, probably Vikings. I think they definitely probably ruined it with the Love Boat and all the crap they went through here. So that's what I think this is. I mean, I'm guessing they polled a bunch of girls because I don't see too many guys even picking a state. I think every guy is going to say it's great no matter where, unless it's like, some weird remote area. It's wrong. But I want to thank Ben Johnson for joining the Ron Johnson Show. We definitely have to get you back, man, as the season goes. Congratulations on the Dawson Garcia, and congrats also, man, seeing a former guy come back and coach his alma mater. It's huge. I think it's going to be great going down the road for AAU players and hometown players to see that. And we'll be back after this. Coming up next, the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes. Make sure you check out our daily show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's Superior Sports Talk with Carol Evans, Reggie Wilson. You also have Luke Inman as producer. Hear Reggie and Luke talk about sports 5 days a week. You can find them on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast feeds. Now the part of the show that I love is the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes. Take it away, Sam.
All right, the Vikings are reportedly not going to pick up center Garrett Bradbury's fifth-year option. That means this is the final year of his contract. Ron, is this the final year he will play as a member of the Minnesota Vikings?
No, I don't think so. I think that just means that he has to earn his way. I mean, look at Laquan Treadwell. Similar things happened to him, and he ended up coming back to the Vikings. It did not work out on his opportunity to earn another chance to be on the team. Because if Laquan Treadwell had come out and had 60 catches that next year, 800 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, they probably re-sign him and say, hey, let's get him on a 2-3 year deal. Garrett Bradbury is going to be the same. In this new offense, again, it's going to be a similar zone read scheme. Everybody kind of has gone to that. It's easier for the offensive linemen. Basically, if you think about, just for those that don't understand zone read, just real simple, it's basically blocking a guy in an area. You don't have a guy. Like, you don't come to the line of scrimmage saying, I'm blocking this guy, you're blocking this guy. You're blocking your zone. You're blocking your area. There's double teams that happen within that area, and then the one guy moves to the other guy who steps up in the area, so you might double team a D tackle to your side. And then the guy, there's a post guy and a leave guy. The post guy sets him up. Other guy keeps him, and then he leaves, and he goes and gets that linebacker. Everybody's doing that. The big difference when you look at the Rams, they pass first and then they run. So they were setting up the run with the pass. The Vikings were always like confused. I don't ever think that they had, like, I don't think Kubiak Jr. had a plan. I don't think that he really understood what he wanted to do. It always seemed like, Zimmer wanted him to run to set up the pass. It felt like he wanted to pass to set up the run. And you just had a huge kind of like rubber meet the road moment that he could not let go of that. And so I think Garrett Bradbury, being in this new system, he's going to have an opportunity to do a little bit better. He's going to have to pass block a lot better. They might get lucky, make a trade, draft a guard that's usable. But they also have some veteran guards they bought in. So this could be a different look team. Where, the Dolphins guy, everybody's saying, oh, he hurt this guy. The Buffalo Bills guy, oh, he hurt this. Like, every fan base has something about players that leave that they're just not happy with. Like the Vikings losing Stephon Diggs. There was, at least we don't have to deal with the drama anymore. So there's always going to be negatives from fans when players leave that they can always tie to. Players can go other places, start anew, have a great career. So we just don't really know what that interior line is going to look like. We know the tackles are set. But I think the key for Garrett Bradbury is just going to be do your job. Like a lot of the stuff the Rams did was quick hitting. I mean, Matthew Stafford did not have to sit back in the pocket forever like he did with the Lions. He had quick, easy reads. It was, here's my guy. Here's where I'm going. If he's not there, here's my second read. I don't think it's over for Garrett Bradbury. I think he can earn his way, and this offense can help him out.
It's a really optimistic view. I'm down on him. I mean, worst pass blocking center in the league 3 years in a row, and they're going to pass more, and that's going to work out. I don't know. We'll see.
You have a coach that can help
right.
you identify the rushers. That's the big difference. This coach is going to help them identify the rushers. In the past, it was figured out for yourself. Now you have a coach that's in their ear as well, not just the offensive line coach. The actual quarterback's coach and the offensive coordinator and the head coach are all going to be able to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how you pick up the blitz. Also, Kirk, change the play. You got two guys in the A-gap. Change it. Run a tunnel screen. Run a bubble screen. We're going to see some of that.
Yeah, no, we could, and scheme change might be big. I will admit that.
Yeah.
Another Vikings one. Rumor has it the Vikings and Saints could play each other early in the season in London. Are you excited about the London games these days, or are you bored by the whole thing?
I mean, there's a thing. I get it. I get the whole thought by it. I think for the home team, they're not too happy with it because they lose a game that fans would have went to. For New Orleans, you know, if it is New Orleans, instead of the Vikings having to go play in New Orleans and deal with that crowd in that stadium, now they get to play them in London. So it becomes neutral. It becomes a neutral playing ground. Even though, you know, New Orleans is the home team, it becomes neutral. You got 32 different teams that are going to be represented in those stadiums because fans are just going to see football. It's a little bit different internationally than it is here. You're going to have Raiders jerseys. You're going to have Rams jerseys at that game. You're going to have Lions, Bears, Packers. It's going to be scarves. It's going to be everything. Like it's going to be a fun atmosphere, but there's not going to be, they're going to cheer loudly for both sides. It becomes, so I'm bored with it because I just think it's gimmicky. I get it. It's money. It's trying to make the game more international like basketball. I think that's every league's idea. Even baseball wants to, you know, make sure they continue to keep it international. But I am kind of like, I get it. But we'll see. I mean, I'm on the schedule release show for the NFL. And so I'll get the Vikings schedule early. So I'll kind of have an idea of who they play, where they play, when they play beforehand. So, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, you know, the Vikings and Saints have had so many electric atmospheres over the years that I think it's a bummer for them to lose out on one of those home atmospheres. You know, I remember obviously the last two playoff games, one in New Orleans and the Minneapolis Miracle here, incredible. Yeah. But they've had some really good primetime regular season games too. And I know that, you know, it's Drew Brees is not there anymore. Sean Payton's not there anymore. Mike Zimmer's not there anymore. Stephon Diggs isn't here anymore. Like, all of the key figures in that rivalry are pretty much gone, so it's kind of a new rivalry. But it does sadden me to see that game go to London, where most people don't really have a loyalty. It's more just general football fans trying to learn the game. I think that's what you lose. You lose. I mean, this is not a Jaguars, Raiders game. This is like a pretty big rivalry game that I think would probably be on Sunday Night Football.
The Jaguars Raiders, though, I mean, you got Trevor Lawrence and Derek Carr. Like, that's what they were trying to get. Like, you got two teams. Who knew that Urban Meyer would be the lap bandit? Like, everybody thought that was going to be the way to go. They were going to be the new Ohio State of the NFL. Hey, Nick Saban tried to get in the NFL with the Dolphins. Didn't work for him. Didn't work for Urban Meyer either. So, hey, it's just learn from your mistakes and move on. I will say this, though. After you just named all that, Sean Payton gone, all these people gone, I feel like that's an easy, not say easy, but I think it's an easy win for the Vikings, especially if it's in London. I just think it fits. And there's more international. I feel like there's more international Vikings fans for some reason than there is Saints fans.
I think you're right about that. I don't know why that is, but the Vikings seem to have that international flavor to them or presence. I've been scouring Twitter trying to find interesting quotes from Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. He just gave his pre-draft press conference this morning. What was I thinking trying to find interesting quotes from a GM on draft week? He's talking about they might trade up, they might trade down, they might amass picks, they might not amass picks. He's basically hedging all of his bets. He's clearly learned well from his predecessor, Rick Spielman, who never said anything at these press conferences. So I guess I don't know what my question for you exactly is, but do you think Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is going to – I'll ask you this. Is he more likely to pile picks to trade up, or is he more likely to trade back throughout the draft?
So this is where I sit with this. So Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, he wears the baseball cap. Love it. Love the swag. Love the laid-backness of his persona. Love the Ivy League kind of like, I got this. Never looks like he's nervous or sweating. Like Ryan Poles. When Ryan Poles went to the podium, it was questionable. Some of the things he said, he couldn't even read the card correctly. Everybody's like, oh, he's so nervous. Kwesi was like a cucumber. He was like the other side of the pillow. Dude was cool. He got up there, told a story about his parents, told everybody, he cried a little bit, had everybody else crying. Movie-esque ending to the Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah story if this was Hollywood. Getting to the podium, making everybody cry, going out drafting. He's going to draft probably the best corner in the NFL. 10 years from now, we'll look back and be like, I remember when, like Kevin Costner drafting T'Challa. Who knew he drafted the dude drafted Black Panther. Like, you can't tell me the Black Panther is not the best player in the NFL for that movie. Like, you drafted the Black Panther. Like, that dude can take hits and keep moving. He can run faster than anybody, tackle everybody. Like, he drafted the Black Panther. So that's where I think Kwesi is. Like, Kwesi is sitting back. He's not going to – and this is the thing. It's not that he didn't give people bulletin board material. He's just doing what every GM does. You don't ever show your hand. If I'm playing poker, I got the hat down low. I got the hoodie kind of up maybe a little bit. I got sunglasses on. I'm not giving you any reads. I'll never forget playing poker in Detroit in a tournament. Old dude had been messing with me all night. About 5 hours into it, got back, ended up at the same table again, broke him, took like $5,000 from him. Why? Because he couldn't read me. He just assumed I was out here because earlier I had made a stupid bet on like a 2-4 offsuit, just trying to see if I could hit something on the river or on the flop. And he just, this kid doesn't know what he's doing. Took his money. Other people had my back. So that's what I think Kwesi is. He's not going to give you guys anything. Like early on, yeah, I gave you some Rick Spielman type vibes. I gave you some Rick Spielman type feels. I'm setting y'all up for the draft because you have no idea what I'm about to do. But I got this ace king suited, and I'm about to let it go as soon as you tell me what you're doing before I tell you what I'm doing. And I think that's where Kwesi stands.
Yeah, he's playing things so close to the vest. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one huge move coming on Thursday. We'll see. We'll see. Bonus question. We're running out of time. I want your best 30 seconds on the Taylor Jenkins comments about the officials in the Wolves-Grizzlies series. He called them inconsistent, arrogant, and embarrassing. He got fined $15,000. Your thoughts on Taylor Jenkins calling out the refs?
1 out of 3 is not bad. Inconsistent, yeah. Arrogant, no. Embarrassing, nah. You're just mad you lost. If you won, because it's been the other way around, where the Timberwolves, people have said that's not a foul. That's not this. Look at Cat's fouls in that one game. Yeah, 3 or 4 of them may have been Cat's, but 2 of them were phantom calls. So it's gone both ways. Chris Finch kept his mouth shut. Taylor Jenkins, hey, you guys suck. Well, let's see if it pays off for him. I said it earlier in the show. I think he did it for a reason. Just like baseball managers do the same thing. When they get thrown out of a game, they're doing it to get their players going. They're also doing it to put the umps on notice. I know what you're doing. And so that's what Taylor Jenkins is doing. He's putting the referees on notice. He's also trying to get it out of his players and say, hey, it's us against the world. I saw Tom Brady's Man in the Arena last night. I watched it, and he said the season with the Falcons was a FEA type of season. That's F them all. That was dope. That's where I think Taylor Jenkins is trying to get these Grizzlies to feel like this is a FEE league, FEA series. It's us against them. F them all. He's trying to get these guys riled up. And I think that's where he's going with it. He's trying to put his Tom Brady on his team and say, hey, it's us against the world. These refs aren't going to help us out. They love the Timberwolves. So it's just us. So, no, I think that's he does what a coach thinks he should do in that moment to get his players ready to play in Game 5 at home because it's a must-win. They lose tonight. They probably lose in Minnesota, and it's Wolves in 6, like I said from the beginning. So hopefully I can put my crown on and say I called it, Wolves in 6. Well, that'll do it for the Ron Johnson Show. I'm your host, Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Thank you for joining us. You can subscribe to the Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast Network on YouTube. Search The Ron Johnson Show. Tons of clips, tons of stuff. We had a great show today with Ben Johnson. We also talked a ton about what the Timberwolves are going to do to win tonight. And also, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Have a great day.